This is the Riot, and this is our podcast.
Happy Thursday, guys.
So here's the stuff you're going to hear about today. LaCroix. It's everywhere.
Or La Croix.
La Croix.
And once it's everywhere, like for us, it'll be everywhere. You'll notice it all the time.
Everywhere we go, it's going to be La Croix, La Croix, La Croix. We also talk about some unique foods that you could be eating for Easter. Roseanne. Gosh, what? Everybody be watching it, except for us, but...
Again, this still fuels the fact that I feel like, you know, our society now and our generation's really like, yeah, anything. I can get anything I want, and I can get it right now. And it feels like
and I can tell you that's not true because I want something to eat right now, and I'm not getting it.
Within reason and stuff, but it's like... Now with your parents, because I think it's more like your parents' generation with Roseanne, but you feel like... Anything that goes away and you're sad about it, it's like, no, it's not going to go away. Just give it time. It'll come back. You know, like nothing ever just goes away. You're like, I want it back now. It's like, well, okay. Then the shows come back.
That is true, but like not completely because sometimes the shows come back and fail miserably.
Well,
and then
more like when they reboot or they just Netflix takes it and it's like, yeah, of course it's coming back. No problem.
Yeah.
Like no is never a no anymore.
You know what? I don't want to get into all that.
And I feel like TV is now not helping that either.
It's like, you know what? Forget it. We're bringing it back.
Might as well.
Look at poor Community. They ended up on Yahoo.
Oh, well,
I didn't even watch that.
That was a mess.
Yeah.
A mess.
Like, wonder what happened to those, like, last seasons or whatever. Does Yahoo still own those?
Don't know.
Did they sell them off to somebody?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, back to the podcast.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
We don't talk about that in the podcast, but it's just a wonder.
We're just wondering about it. Will Ferrell and Facebook, your new spring break destination.
Woo-hoo!
Alexa.
Get ready to book the tickets.
Ferraris, fatties on a train.
That's code, by the way.
Well, you'll see. You'll see. So you guys enjoy the podcast and...
Have a wonderful day. Don't forget, please join us at RadioU Riot, our Facebook and our YouTube pages. Make sure you subscribe and sign up to get notified anytime we send something out, including our interviews. You'll get those right away.
I meant what I said about being hungry.
Well, go get something.
I'm going to go make... Hey, wait, watch this. Oh, it's not here. Uh-oh.
What, did you forget your snack?
I brought a snack. It's fine. I'll find one. Don't worry about it.
Is it in the car? I bet
it might
it's
be
in
in
your
my
car.
I'm sure it's in my car.
Maybe it fell out of your
pocket. I was going
pocket.
to pull out a little snack and show it to you, but...
There's nothing.
It's like your uncle reaching behind your ear, but there's no quarters back there.
It's like a person who's not quite learned all the tricks to be the magician, and it's
Normally
like, that
this
failed.
works.
Where's
Normally
the bunny?
It works.
Where's the bunny at?
It's the Riot.
The worst of the Riot. Proof that you're already living in that dark future dystopia. Radio U.
Hey, while we're talking about Easter and stuff that I would lazily prepare if I was in charge of the Easter party, here we have a couple of Peeps flavored items.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we've really, I don't know, missed out on a couple of Riot food fights with some of the Peeps stuff.
Possibly. Here's someone that has created a Peeps pizza. So you put
it on dough and then you just melt it as it bakes?
They ordered a pizza.
Oh,
and then
put the
they
Peeps
put
on
the
top?
Peeps on it, and then they put the Peeps in the oven so they'd have a chance to,
I feel like a dessert pizza with some cheese.
It looks really gross.
Well, Peeps sometimes are.
My thing is, like, I just almost don't like...
I've seen that one before.
You have? Like,
yeah.
I don't like Peeps for most things. Though I'll tell you, last year or 2 years ago, Chris made us Peeps s'mores.
Those were good.
That was good. That's good.
And people kind of were split on this too,
oven.
but we actually didn't mind the Peeps Oreos as well. Those were pretty good.
Yeah.
Compared to some other flavors, and again, split down the middle, but...
You know what? Peeps Oreos bring to the forefront one of the major problems I have with Peeps. They're gritty.
Yeah, that is true.
It's that sugar.
The sugar stuff in it. And you don't think it's going to be that way, but it is.
Oh, it is.
It is.
It definitely is.
We watched this last year because we thought, oh, you know what? We'll make this. Remember that?
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Okay, well, there's that.
So we're back again 1 year later. We still haven't made it.
Yeah, I was staring that one down. And then also it looks like some people are making some Peeps beer. It's craft beer, so it's local.
It's homebrewed.
But it's in Dallas. They're called the Collective Brewing Project. And they sat down to work on some Peeps
with the sugar in
beer.
it. So for the Peeps pizza, they call it peepza.
Peepza?
Yeah, like pizza, but
That's
pizza.
right. I mean, I get it.
It's cute.
No, it's
not.
I mean, yes, you're right, Nikki.
It's adorable.
Cute.
I like
it's
the name.
Cute, but that doesn't make it right.
You can see if
you see the difference there?
You can see if your local pizza place would mind, or if not, you just order the pizza and then throw them on right when you get the pizza.
So it's
that
so
way
hot.
they just melt from the heat with it.
And then wash it down with this Peeps craft beer. Then some Peeps on the side for whatever.
And then a Peeps s'more for dessert. And then you're fine.
Oh.
You're going to have like a sugar hangover, but outside of that, you should be fine.
Like one bite of a Peep and I'm done. That's it.
But maybe it's not so bad with other stuff mixed in.
With the cheese and tomato sauce?
Yeah, like with the pizza.
I'll tell you, I'll have a Peeps pizza, hold the Peeps.
It's a pizza.
It's a great name.
Call it what it is.
You know, if it was a pizza shaped like a peep, but no peep flavoring.
That might even be better.
You know what? I can get on board with that too.
Like a heart pizza on Valentine's. On Sunday, you can get one of the Easter egg pizzas.
We're here to celebrate the death and resurrection of Jesus with this.
With the pizza.
This pizza.
Oh, it sounds fun.
Just like they did in the old days.
The Riot is an award-winning morning show.
It's literally a medal for sucking. Now that is a medal for trying.
Okay.
Radio U.
So I don't know if you caught this, Nikki, but on Tuesday night, Roseanne made her comeback after, what did they say, like 20 years or whatever. But the big story there is not that somebody, rebooted or continued a franchise.
How often does that happen?
That happens a lot, but the big story is that so many people watched it.
I saw. That was really big numbers.
18 million people came back with a score of 5.1 in adults 18 to 49. They say one of the biggest shocks about it is that people that were very young and not raised watching Roseanne. So
so it wasn't just like, someone grew up with it and was watching it again.
Exactly. You would expect, if you told me that people in their 50s were excited this was back, you'd be like, sure. Or maybe younger than that, 40s. Like, you'd be excited it was back because, you watched it when you were a kid or something. Right on. But no, they're saying that it skewed bizarrely young. And did really, really well.
Honestly, if you look, especially with Netflix, old shows are still so popular now.
Yeah. I'm going to put out a different theory. This is my theory about it, and this is something that I have kind of thought. I'm seeing other people say the same thing, so agree or disagree. Like, a lot of people are saying this, but I thought it was marketed very cleverly. You're like, well, what do you mean? Well, we've talked about this on the show before, that marketing is not just a commercial. Marketing happens everywhere. So here's the kind of stuff that happened with Roseanne. One, she started tweeting about Fortnite. I'm not
something.
lying. She tweeted about Fortnite, and I was like, oh, she's not playing Fortnite.
Maybe she is.
Maybe she is.
Maybe she actually is.
It was just one of those things where it's like, if I was running her social media, that's a great strategy. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's real. Maybe it's not. But a lot of people talked about it. Then she did the talk show circuit. And what did she talk about? Trump, 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 Trump. She told everybody that she voted for Trump and that her character was a Trump supporter. Now, here's why I think that's a great strategy for a TV win for her, whether it continues to be or not. Because even though, watch TV, go on the internet, go wherever. What do you see? Basically, the large assumption by the media on all levels is everyone hates Trump. It's a huge accident that he was elected. Like, obviously, the Russians are at fault, et cetera, et cetera. People didn't vote for Trump. Actually, an enormous swath of America voted for Trump. Again, whether you like him or not, we're talking about media strategy. We're not talking about politics.
Sure.
So they go out there and they marketed to a large group of Americans who feel disenfranchised by the media, just like Trump did. And so she goes out there and says she's a Trump supporter. And a lot of people that feel like nothing on TV speaks directly to them were like, oh, me too. And they watched it.
Yeah.
It was, again, I don't know, like to what extent, like how completely it was intentional, but there was something super smart about the way that was done.
And then they talked about how other characters in the show maybe were not. So who hasn't had a family argument concerning which way they go for politics? And then that was included in it, too.
It was. I didn't watch it.
Sure.
Did you?
I don't watch TV.
Okay.
There's still that one part. Like, I watch shows and stuff, but I don't just go hop on ABC and watch.
Well, it had been marketed so heavily and in so many different ways. It had been my intention, like, oh, I'll check in on that. I totally forgot to set anything to record. I didn't watch it. Because I don't care that much.
No, I understand.
But I was,
kind
again,
of the same boat. Like if I'll watch a couple clips on YouTube or something. But.
Yeah. I was just fascinated by the way it was presented. And again, it's funny, the reaction from a lot of critics that I'm reading is the same level of, it's like post-election shock. They're like, this doesn't make any sense.
How could this get so many good numbers?
Everyone hates President Trump, so everyone will hate this character, and then blah, blah, blah. And it's like, guys, what is it, like 40-some% or however much of America voted for this guy? And no matter what his numbers are, there's still a group of people that if you speak to them in that way, they're going to show up. And again, apparently they did.
So the question is how, for a TV show when it comes back, the numbers will usually be the best right out the bat. So how many can it keep?
How many people watch on week 2?
That's usually the big question then.
Well, I can think of 2 people that probably won't be watching on week 2.
Us 2?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't watch week 1. We don't count.
Well, I know. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to get better next week.
Leftovers from the most disgusting meal you've ever had. It's the worst of the riot on RadioU.
There's a name for it, and I can't remember what it is. That thing where, like, you hear about something and you haven't heard about it in forever, and then you hear about it 3 times.
Sure.
What is that? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's not the Mandela effect. That's the Berenstein Bears thing. That
if you just tuned in, you're like, what is all that?
No, Google the Mandela effect. But there's another
term for it.
Or you hear of things 3 times. Let's see if that's good enough for Google.
Anybody remember? If you text us,
the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. I think that's okay. Yeah, that's, in fact, you probably learned blah, blah, blah. Bears synchronicity, the experience of having a highly meaningful coincidence. You don't want to have to read it up. I think it might be this Bader-Meinhof thing. So here's the idea. You hear about something, like something happens, you never hear about that, and then you'll like,
suddenly
it keeps
it's like bam,
coming
bam,
up.
bam, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about La Croix, Nikki?
It did come up. I was watching a show, I think. Yes, I was watching a show, and they said La Croix in it, and I almost sent you the clip of it because it was a joke in the show, and I was like, where did this come from?
Well, it was this whole thing. During the fundraiser, we had Hudson in to eat cake and bugs, and you can see archives of that on RadioU's Facebook page.
And someone had gotten like, I call it LaCroix.
The company wants you to call it LaCroix.
Because LaCroix is out of, is it Wisconsin?
Somewhere in the upper Midwest.
Yes, but you think maybe sometimes French and Canadian with it. And Hudson's Canadian, and he always called it La Croix.
Right.
Which in French sometimes, or Canada, they do call it.
Uh-huh.
But the company does not want you to.
The company flat out says we want you to call it LaCroix. So I immediately began calling it La Croix.
Yes, it became a joke.
Yeah. So Hudson wanted it that day. And then a couple, like early this week or late last week, you were talking about it again. I was like, that's fine. I went out somewhere, just, again, it's so weird, but saw somebody sitting like in a chair outside a like grocery store or something. They have like a little cafe area set up, sitting there drinking one. And I was like,
there it is again.
There it is. That's weird.
Did you ask them what they call it?
No, I didn't. But here's what I love. This morning, I'm like, hey, check out what's going on Twitter, whatever. There's propaganda tweeting about LaCroix.
LaCroix, the water. Like, propaganda, you don't know it, but you're just another in a line of La Croix right now.
Just like, bro, what are you doing to me right now? What are you doing?
Did he say what he called it? Or?
Well, no, but he retweeted an article from Eat This, Not That.
Yeah.
So, he's sensitive to what he should and shouldn't be eating. And it's a whole article about why you should stop drinking LaCroix. And they say because it's very bad for your teeth and...
But it's just sparkling water.
No, it's not.
Say that in the tone of like, but it's just corn sugar or whatever that commercial is. It's just high fructose corn syrup.
Here, I'll read what they say to you. This is from Eat This, Not That, their article on why you should stop drinking LaCroix. When it comes to deciding between a can of sugary soda or a LaCroix, the sparkling water is a much better choice for your overall health. But like everything in life, LaCroix should be enjoyed in moderation. Drinking a few cans a week is fine. Downing a 1 6-pack a day could spell trouble for your teeth.
Because it eats the enamel, probably.
It's acidic, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know, but if you're not like replacing one for one, like if you have a huge soda problem,
Do we know anyone like that? Or maybe who
Not in
had
this
that?
room.
Not in this room.
So if you're like, well, I had usually an entire 12-pack a day, and you're like, I still have a 12-pack a day, then you haven't really done anything.
Yeah, you've just replaced
You're
one for
just
the other.
replacing it, but if you cut back, then it is fine.
Well, propaganda has this to say. The number one reason you should stop drinking LaCroix, it's gross.
Okay, well, sometimes it is. I'll give him that. He's kind of correct on that. Depends on the flavor.
He feels like maybe, it's not to be
I got this flavored set of, I think it was LaCroix or it might have been something else. And it was like, oh, here's a cucumber melon and there's a berry basil or something like that. At first, I thought, oh, these are going to be great. I opened up each flavor. And I mean, I have a giant amount of them because it's from Costco. Each flavor is disgusting. I was like, great. I just wasted all of it. I'm just going to pour it out.
Luckily, you have quantity.
Well, because then you look at it, you're like, oh, this will be so good. I'm going to finally have something to drink. It's going to be nice, just like soda, right? And it's not.
It's not, Nikki. It's not. You just need some good old water.
No, I wanted Sprite Zero.
Hey, look at this water.
No.
I love it.
That's the story behind the LaCroix and the LaCroix.
It's everywhere, man. You know what's going to happen today? You're going to see it.
I know you're going to notice and be like, oh, my gosh.
There it is.
I see it now.
Mornings are for coffee and contemplation.
Chief, she's...
Coffee and contemplation.
And the riot. Obviously. Radio U.
I've said before that I wanted to quit Facebook. Everybody said that.
Yeah, but now there's a reason going on, whereas before we just said we wanted to quit Facebook because we just didn't use Facebook.
It's getting real, guys. It's getting real. More than a few people have, and I mean, I haven't heard of anybody that I'm really, really into.
Following.
That's,
You're
leaving
devastated
Facebook.
by.
The closest that it's gotten is this. Will Ferrell announced yesterday, hey, in 72 hours, I'm leaving Facebook.
And stopping his page?
Yeah, so he says that he's going to shut all of his Facebook connections down. Now, I actually, in wake of this, Cambridge Analytica scandal, I've thought too, man, I'm out on Facebook. I'm out. But here's the thing. The damage is done.
Yeah,
your
it's
stuff
done.
Is
already...
If you think for a heartbeat that I'm going to go cancel my Facebook account and Facebook will we're going to wipe it all away. We're going to get rid of all your information.
Hey, we didn't know we were serious now.
It'll be like you were never a part of Facebook. We're getting rid of all of your stuff.
Sure.
No.
But I think people are doing this just to make their point known.
Right, kind of as a protest.
Yeah.
But man, the Facebook stuff, it's rough.
Well, when it comes to celebrities or more well-known people, the guy who founded WhatsApp, he kind of started the trend of
he said
if
he
you're
was out.
Serious about that, even though I am suspicious of all apps and companies, because it's like, dude, if you haven't taken one thing of my information, you've got another, and it's going somewhere. So I don't think they should throw stones pretty far from their own app.
When the WhatsApp guy is like, I'm quitting Facebook because privacy, I'm like, yeah, you're not reading everybody's messages.
And then Elon Musk did, and then a few others, and so Will Ferrell's now the next one.
I don't believe it, but I struggle with it because I really do think sometimes I'm like, man, how many private conversations have I had on Facebook that I'd be like, oh, I don't want that out there. Not because I've done anything wrong, but it's just private.
Do you think that's not why it's a public conversation? But I keep thinking through this whole thing. Twitter's like, oh, please come back, everybody.
Hey guys, over at Twitter,
please come back, please.
Over at Twitter, we don't even have enough memory to save everything.
We're not keeping any of your stuff. Just come back.
We got nothing. Come back to Twitter.
So it just depends on what social media you use. But yes, the Facebook thing still has not seemed to settle down. Because what was it yesterday or the day before? Everybody was sharing the video.
Dude,
the
so
Facebook
bad.
guy going from a couple of years ago be like, we'll never do anything with your stuff.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg is like, if you put something on Facebook, you own it. It's yours.
So they played a lot of that compared to what's going on now.
So
no, it's
messed
not.
up.
But again, Facebook is not alone in that category. Everybody does that.
That too, think about what you've gone through. Nikki you've had your identity stolen twice.
I've had multiple things. I had to file a police report and everything. Multiple multiple stuff with that.
So she was checking on her credit monitoring or whatever, which she has to have now.
Yeah.
And you've been a part of 5 data breaches?
Yeah, just the recent one. And I mean, the main one was like Dropbox, a few others. I'm like, guys, what are you doing? And you add up all the information enough and someone can easily take your things and open up stuff.
It's rough out there, dude. The thing that I just kept thinking about is, and I know, like, I already know this, but you're still like, how many times have I just haphazardly thrown my info into something and
you sign up and you never
think about it again?
And you're like, well, I delete the app. Doesn't matter. You still signed up for it. Or even if you unsubscribed, they still have your information.
Yeah, I mean, like, how many times have I removed the Facebook app from my phone? And they're like, yeah, Facebook, if you're an Android user, they've been reading your email and text messages for years.
Forever.
Holy crap.
So you'll see more and more people still removing their pages, but who knows what that does.
Will Ferrell will be back in a couple months. Like, I just was missing everybody.
The Riot talks about wanting a day off, but when do we get a day off from them?
Whoa! You suck at this!
It's the worst of the Riot on Radio U.
We were just talking a strong game about Facebook.
And
then I go, Nikki, have you seen this video of this cow that acts like a dog?
that's the whole reason why Facebook is there.
And she's like, no. And I said, I'll send it to you. And then I shared it with her on Facebook Messenger.
Way to be strong.
And this is why Facebook's going to be doing just fine. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
I'm glad you see the funniness of that.
Oh, the irony is not lost on me. There's no doubt about it. So here's some great news for those of you that were planning your big summer trip to Ireland, like you do. One of the big reasons I haven't been to Ireland yet for spring break.
I don't think it's a spring break like party place.
Well, I know it's not because they don't have any nude beaches. But guess what?
Is that changing?
Everything's changing. Like, Ireland has just officially opened its first nude beach thanks to Pat Gallagher and the Irish Naturist Association.
Guess I also just didn't think Ireland has beautiful beaches.
Well, I mean, it's an island.
Well, no, I know, but just doesn't seem like still
water.
The spring break. Just because water's there doesn't mean it's like this is the one you can go swim in easily. Like, it's just not the same.
Don't say that, because my bathtub is where I'm spring breaking this year.
Man, you got the party spot.
I don't want to get weird about it, but it was totally a nude beach when I was there last night.
It did get weird. You did. You did. Everybody bathes. I know that, but that was weird.
What? Just some real talk. It's just, what's happening. Party naked. Was
no
huge.
need to go to Ireland.
I'm good right here. Look, I can see the bottom. It's so clear.
You do have the best beach spots.
That's amazing.
Oh, my goodness.
That is amazing. But it's happening Hawk Cliff in Dalkey, south of Dublin. Doesn't that sound like an amazing beach?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I love when the word cliff is there, too.
According to, and again, I love this.
Sandy beaches.
Naked beach going is more popular in Ireland than you might think, says Pat Gallagher from the Irish Naturist Association. Which is what apparently they call a nudist. They're not a nudist, they're a naturist. Mm-hmm. So, potato, right? Oh, don't say that about Ireland. I'm sorry. This country has had people using beaches all around Ireland for as long as I can remember for nude bathing, he says. A lot of people would prefer not to say to anyone, but they would go on the continent to nude. What's the continent? To nude. Oh, so they go to Europe. I got it. To nude beaches or go to nude resorts on holiday.
Oh, and so they think if they let them do it there in Ireland, they'll be keeping their money there, and people will go on holiday there.
See, this big nude paid for all of this. That's our tourist season.
Dude, I still think it's weird. Like, you go to the beach and you're not, it doesn't make you bad if you don't want to be at the nude beach, but you're there and you're just wanting to swim and it be low key and just have a good time. And you're like, what is this?
Man, is this really happening right now?
I'm in the wrong beach.
Is this for real happening right now?
And you just didn't know.
Yeah. You guys keep your nudity at home. Like, I'm good. You guys have got your own spring break locale right there upstairs.
Just head on to your own bathtub.
That's right.
Ooh, the shower is a different beach, so you
that's
could think
the waterfall.
Well, that's the waterfall. You got to take the hike from the tub to the shower.
It's tough. You got to lift your leg up over the side, get in the waterfall. Hey, just think about the miracle of modern technology. A beach in every house, a waterfall.
Worst of the riot, not enough? Not enough? Check the blog and all things Riot at riot.radiou.com.
Yesterday, Nikki and I, in what took a very long time to tell the story, we detailed for you, our friends, the grief and agony that we suffered upon finding that our favorite Chinese restaurant is now closed.
It just was a shock. I mean, we'd been busy with the spring fundraiser. We had no idea.
No
it
idea.
happened like a week and a half ago. We just didn't know.
Didn't get a chance to talk to him about it. Now, and a lot of people are like, just go down that street.
Or go to someplace else. But you don't understand. We really like Chinese food, and so we know which places we
really
like.
like it.
And that was one that we liked. Even compared to other of the same company's locations, this is the one that we liked.
That was the one, Nikki.
And
they shut it down.
And they shut it down because I think we were the only ones who went. So.
They shut it down. And that is a lot of people.
That is the problem.
So many people are like, they probably didn't pass their inspection or this. I'm like, no.
Busy.
It's because they knew us all almost by name because we were the only people that came in there.
I think that's the reason you liked it so much. They knew your order.
That I didn't have to tell her. She would just be like, she would say the usual or normal, and I'm just like,
yes, thank you.
Yeah, come on. And we only went in there once or twice a week.
No, there was a few months.
There was a period there where we
they
were
got
visiting
to know us
a
really
lot.
well, and then, you spread it out to like every other week.
Mm-hmm. So, and one of the things I love about it is I never, after eating there, whether at home or here at the station or in the car or whatever, ever said to myself, oh, gosh, I got some bad Chinese food. Never happened. But I'll tell you who it happened to. Crystal Anderson.
What did Crystal have wrong?
29 years old, Pensacola, Florida. She wakes up on Sunday morning about 4 a.m. and she's like, oh, gosh. And she runs into the bathroom and she's like, I think it's a Chinese food. She goes back to bed. Then a few minutes later, she gets up and she's like, oh! She runs into the bathroom.
Was she having a baby?
Food baby.
A food baby?
No, not really. She actually was. It was weird. She started noticing it's like, I have these cramps 3 minutes apart. That Chinese food is serious.
Based on movies we've seen, that's something that's serious. She didn't know she was pregnant?
She real talk had General Tso's the night before, which, hey, that's what I get.
Oh, extra sauce.
Extra sauce. Can you put the sauce out on the
rice? That's what he likes the most.
So
remember your order.
Yeah. So she did not know that she was pregnant. And this is her second baby. She's had a baby before, which makes it even weirder.
And she knew the first one she had a baby, but like this one she had no clue?
Mm-hmm. She
For
said,
9 months? I'm always fascinated when someone says that.
I worked with a girl in high school that was like, whoops, baby, I didn't know I was pregnant. And it was
but
one of those
is it
things,
like wink, wink?
That
sort of thing, like now that it's out.
In her case, it was like, sounds terrible. It was like, I thought she had just, gained some weight. Not that you would say anything.
Not that you would say that
right?
to her.
You wouldn't say that. But then, boom, she had a baby. I think she just didn't tell anybody.
Sure.
But I think the Chinese food lady, I think she's for real.
She didn't know.
She didn't know she was pregnant. She said that in her first pregnancy, and obviously her second, she didn't have any of the symptoms that you normally associate with pregnancy.
Some people, I guess, don't gain weight the same way.
She said she had gained a little bit of weight, but she never had a pregnancy shape. She wears scrubs to work because she works at a retirement home. And so she just said, her clothes continued to fit just fine. And
Baby's fine?
That's a weird one. Can you imagine, like, one day you're like, I'm good, and then the next day you're like, I'm a father?
Maybe weird, too.
I'm a mother? Wait, excuse
me,
me,
it'd be more weird
what?
if you didn't have one. Like, she already has one, so maybe it's easier, but that's just odd.
Yeah, how about this? Like, the contractions, like all this pain and stuff. This is how much she didn't know she was having a baby. They called the ambulance to come and get her.
Yeah.
So she's there in the ambulance, and... What?
Nothing.
Okay. And she gave birth.
In it?
Yeah. I love this. The emergency techs, whatever, the paramedics are like you're having a baby? That's what this is?
Right? I just can't. I can't even. Next time, you shouldn't tell these stories, because then if your stomach hurts one day, you're like, what's happening? what's going on? And you're like, no, it is in your case just a stomach ache.
Here's what's amazing. This news story from the Pensacola News Journal has the name and address of the Chinese restaurant she ate the night before.
Don't put that on there. It's not their fault.
And they just said, just a heads up, Great China on West 9 Mile Road won't be getting a negative Yelp review.
Because it wasn't the food's fault.
Wow. She says, though, she's like, even though I know it wasn't the food, I feel like I can't go back there right now.
She should name the baby. Can she name the baby?
General So.
Yeah, like General So.
I think she totally should. She should find like top 10 baby names in China.
There
Pick
it is.
one.
Pick one of them.
That's actually a great
Well,
idea.
congratulations to her.
Yeah. On the new baby.
Which she didn't know anything about.
And she had a great Saturday night. You know, go out, have some Chinese food.
One last dinner, hurrah.
My gosh.
It's the worst of the riot because calling it the best of the riot would be a lie. Radio U.
This story is old but new again. I didn't hear about it the first time it happened. This was April 27th of last year. Mm-hmm. The reason it's in the news again is because the courts have ruled. So,
update.
You know how that goes.
Finally an update.
This is in Australia. Lewis Grabban, he is an international soccer star. Everybody knows Lewis, except for me, but you get the idea.
I'm sure if you're there, it's more well known.
So he is doing well enough for himself that he finally decided to get that Ferrari he always wanted.
Okay.
And, you know, more sympathetic I could not be. Just got one myself. So he decides that, you know, when you buy a Ferrari, you don't go to the dealer and buy one. I mean, like, you might go to a dealer somewhere, but it's not like you drive off the lot with a Ferrari.
Sure.
You order one, and eventually, when they finally get around to making it, they deliver it to you. It's part of, well, it's one of many reasons, but it is one of the reasons why a Ferrari often appreciates in value, because you could sell it and someone can have a Ferrari right now instead of having to wait on one.
Where if you go and you're like, oh, there's many of these on the lots, it's just because they're mass made, and Ferraris, they don't make as many.
They're handmade, dude.
It's custom.
So, all right, so he has his Ferrari delivered April 27th of last year.
Sure.
He can't be there for the delivery. And he's like, oh, crap. So he calls his brother-in-law, and he's like, and you already, as soon as I said it, you already know something's not right.
Is he the culprit?
So he says, hey, can you come over to the house, take delivery on the Ferrari tomorrow? And he's like, oh, yeah, no problem. Sure I can.
It's your brother-in-law. I feel like you can probably trust him. So
he does. And the brother-in-law brings one of his friends with him. Already getting
Here's
worse.
Another problem.
And the two of them go ahead and they take delivery of the car. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. And then they start it, and they take pictures of themselves standing next to the car.
Then you can't help it, can you? You want to just try it out.
And then
that is audio from
of the actual
event.
So
we got a hold of that.
They decide to go ahead and drive it. So they do. They drive it out a little bit on some country roads. And this is what I love. The friend actually says to the brother-in-law, like, hey, this is a Ferrari. This is a Ferrari. Do you know how to drive this? Like, are you sure this is a good idea? And he's like, man, I drove a Porsche last month. I'm fine.
The power of the cars is the difference.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's just you're just pushing the pedal down. How hard is it going to be?
It's not that.
It's so much more powerful than our cars could ever be that you can lose control quite easily.
So they were just like, hey, you know what? We're going to drive it out to whatever. We'll drive it back. This will not be that big of a deal. So, which, by the way, it would be. Think about this. You paid all this money for Ferrari. I want the first miles on that car to be my miles.
Well, yeah, it's not even theirs.
So they went ahead and drove out to whatever. They're like, oh, it's totally fine. You did fine. He said, well, let's drive it over and show it to your wife. That's when they hit a problem. They went ahead and
Did they hit something?
He decided to, and this is the quote, put his foot down slightly. The back of the car fishtailed. And again, it's so powerful. He lost complete control of the car. Rammed it into a tree.
Oh, so it's totaled.
So the brother-in-law called his sister and is like, hey, so totally wrecked the car. And she's like, you're such a kidder. That's so funny.
It's like, nope, totally wrecked the car.
And he could not convince her that they had wrecked the car.
So did the brother sue, or like it's his brother-in-law? Like, how awkward is that?
Well, it is a little awkward. They had to call the police.
Why were they in court?
Well, it goes like this. He didn't have any insurance.
The brother-in-law? or the soccer player?
The
I feel like this is
brother-in-law.
a soap opera.
I know, it's
like,
complicated.
Was it the soccer player?
No, the brother-in-law had no insurance. So think about this.
For his own
You're
car?
an uninsured driver behind the wheel of a Ferrari.
That's not yours.
I wouldn't even have leaned on it to get my picture taken.
Sure.
So it ended up, and again, I don't know why. It seems like, man, you took him to court, but some of this is not civil. Like, these are criminal charges that he faced because and I'm sure probably there's some insurance problems here, but the car has what would be $171,000 in damages.
That's actually not that bad. I thought it'd be worse.
So the brother and his friend, they were both put on a 12-month community order. So I don't know what that means in Australia, but they also have to do 225 hours of volunteer service. Okay, the brother-in-law does 225 hours. The passenger does 24 hours. But both of them, the brother-in-law and the friend, they both lost their license for a year.
Sure, you're driving without insurance. And if you get a Ferrari, like me, like I have Progressive, I don't think there's like a Ferrari option. You have to have a special insurance for some of these cars.
Nikki, you should talk to your agent.
Maybe they can get me into that.
They might be able to help you.
I've been a long-time customer. I'll see if I can get a good deal. But, you have to have a real nice insurance policy with one of those cars.
And can you just imagine, like, what kind of a conversation do you have with someone where you're
I'd
like,
cry.
Hey,
I'd be very upset.
Do you remember when I told you that I would take delivery of the car and you said don't drive it? And I was like, I won't. And then, okay, so I did.
I'm done driving it.
Here are the keys. It's right over there.
In the tree.
Yeah.
It's in the tree.
It's behind. It's right there.
One of the only things left that isn't owned by Disney. The Riot on Radio U.
Look, they're not a thing yet, but it looks like they're going to be a thing. Alexa-enabled lamps.
Yeah.
So, wait, is that like, have you seen them somewhere?
No, because you can already make a voice-activated lamp, can't you?
Oh, yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
But this
but
would
now
be
Alexa.
Think in terms of but that Alexa, okay, for me, where I sit and watch TV, I've got a side table with a lamp on it.
Sure.
So I would say to that lamp, Alexa, what time is it? And the lamp would talk back to me. So you're talking about a lamp.
Oh, now I see. Okay, so not an Alexa.
Not just Alexa enabled, I can turn it on and off.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I've not heard of one, but Alexa's built into the lamp.
That's correct.
Okay, now we're talking stuff for the apartment.
That to me, though, is just okay.
Everything's listening.
Exactly.
Even your stupid lamp.
Here's the thing. Sometimes we have a hard time spying on you because you only have it in the kitchen.
We need to have more.
So what we're hoping is you'll put this, in the TV room and the bedroom and whatever. And that way you can turn the lights on with your voice, but we can also use Alexa to listen to what you're watching on TV.
So the lamp would still be like whatever you can do with Alexa, the normal hockey puck. You can still do it within the lamp.
Right. So there's a write-up here on Engadget. And the idea is that basically Amazon wants more third-party manufacturers to include Alexa in their devices. So instead of buying a lamp from Amazon, you would buy this whole thing just broke down because I don't know a single lamp manufacturer to put in this space. But okay, let's say...
We don't know.
So let's say...
Who buys a lamp?
Let's say...
It's like you take it when you move out. That's where your lamps come from.
Nicole Lamps. They're a company. They manufacture lamps. And so Nicole...
It's European.
Yeah. Their lamps, Nicole Lamps, would be like, oh, I know. We're going to get this Alexa tech and put it in our lamps. And now the new Nicole lamp powered by Alexa. And that'll be a thing. And so Amazon didn't make it, but they licensed it so they could make
company. It makes sense.
So they just released a big thing to show people how to do this, et cetera, et cetera. So again, it's not out yet.
But it's coming.
But you will probably see it coming soon.
Seems like it's the next progression of how many devices will be tuning in to see what we'll ask them to do.
I do think some of the Alexa stuff to me is kind of interesting. The one Alexa, is it the Alexa View or whatever that has a little screen on it? Mm. I have thought many, many times about something like that in my bathroom in the morning, while I'm getting ready. But it always comes down to I've got roommates and I basically have to be as quiet as possible.
Not talking
when I get up.
Until Alexa.
They're just sleeping and waiting for their real job daytime hours, whereas I'm getting up in the middle of the night to come to the radio station. So I haven't bought anything like that, but I could totally see that.
Maybe in the future?
In different, if my circumstances were different, I would be interested in a device like that.
Well, don't forget, if you have an Alexa, you can download the free RadioU Alexa skill. So you can hear RadioU through your Alexa device. You find this skill at RadioU.com, or if you just search RadioU Alexa skill on Amazon, that'll pull up.
And there are privacy concerns, but I'm going to tell you right now, if the government's listening to what's going on in the bathroom, joke's on them.
You got them good. Put that lamp in the bathroom. You do that.
Jokes on them.
It looks like a nice lamp. It's more like, it's not what you think. There's no like lampshade on it.
Right. Not the particular one that they're detailing in the article, but you could see where it wouldn't take much to
put an Alexa in anything.
Make a designer IKEA. IKEA, they make lamps. We got it. That's a real lamp manufacturer. And IKEA Hergeferg, powered by Alexa.
From the Bjornborn series of lamps.
Sure.
Send your complaints regarding that worst of the riot moment to Fire Obadiah at RadioU.com.
If you guys didn't hear, a good friend of, I shouldn't do that because you'll think I'm serious. When I call Kim Jong-un a friend of the show.
You don't mean that. That's the sarcasm that's coming in that sometimes not everybody's picking up on.
It's not what you think necessarily. But
I think they probably assume that one. Just in case, though.
One of them things. So Kim Jong-un, he's taking a little trip on the north side
of the train.
Well, there's North Korea, but even further north, you got China.
Yeah.
And he's on the trip in China. Now, it was an unannounced trip, so all of a sudden, boom, he's in China. Now, in China, they got a little problem, okay? In China, the people there, a lot of them don't like Kim Jong-un. And so they have a few derogatory terms that they like to use for him as they, kind of like in China, their versions of Twitter, Facebook, any kind of Chinese social media.
Well, in the press, you are allowed and not allowed to say certain things.
Right.
So they say with articles, or if you're press, but just it's very common to not be able to use the actual word for something. So it's kind of like everybody comes up with their alternate words that mean, him, but they're saying it's something else.
So in China, on Chinese social media, he was referred to a lot as Kim Fatty 3 and Fatty Fatty Fatty.
So that's what you say. So you'd say Fatty 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 on Twitter or wherever you
Chinese Twitter.
Yes, Chinese Twitter, because you're not allowed to have, Twitter. And then that would be the term for him.
But they had a whole thing where China, the government was just like, hey, you're not going to use the following phrases. So straight up, in China, they've got control of stuff. So if you would tweet that, they would delete the tweet. It would never make it out. And so they've had to come up with a new thing to call Kim Jong-un. And
not Fatty, Fatty, Fatty.
No, you know what they call him?
Isn't it Fatty Boom something? Or
it's not
from
Fatty,
the train.
Fatty Boom Boom.
No, it's from the train.
It's Fatty on the train.
That's it, because there's pictures of him with the leader of China. And they had a meeting on a train.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. They had a bunch of words for the leader of China.
So that's what they were using these terms. Yeah.
Oh, they call him Fatty on a train.
Gosh, man.
That's rough, bro.
He's a terrible person, but I just would not want to be in a position where, that's how people are referring to you.
You know what? I don't know.
But they say he eats a lot of cheese.
Rumor had it that they sent him to a special cheese detox facility
in Switzerland or something. I want to know if that's real.
It's got to be, right? Nikki, there's a lot of people out there that like cheese, and a lot of people that just can't stop.
You can't control yourself.
You know what? I'll tell you right now. I had some cheese this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
Early cheese?
Call me Fatty in a Honda.
I'm not in a train.
Because I wasn't on a train.
Your cheese coming in your car? You're driving and eating cheese?
I was on the sandwich I ate this morning.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I just thought you were just eating cheese.
Well, I've done that before. Eat some cheese. Is that wrong?
Well, I just
want to
know.
Do you never eat cheese?
I do, but not here's my 4:30 in the morning breakfast cheese.
Well,
I'm not having that.
Why not?
I just didn't think about that.
Wow.
You
should
got to
really-
start your stomach off gently in the morning. And I
You
feel
don't
like
think cheese is gentle?
Some of it can be pretty harsh.
Well, that's true. You get a real stinky cheese, but I think a nice sharp cheddar.
You're talking about a cheese stick, like the
You know
ones
what?
that you shred.
Here's what we should do. We should try to get Kim Jong-un on the show to talk about a good morning cheese. Like, listen, just let him know. We're not
Politics
going to ask him about
aside.
politics. We're not going to ask him about all the terrible things that are happening. We just want to have a cheese conversation, which, by the way, is probably the one thing. They'd be like, no, talk to him about politics. Do not mention the cheese.
Yeah, they don't want that known. That he couldn't control himself around a cheese tray.
Tell him to stop by, and then you bust out a cheese tray, and you just see him. Something happened. A change comes over him. They have cheese.
Have all the cheese you want. It's a trap.
So just a heads up.
If you're in China and you're like, what is all this fatty fat talk?
Yeah, you can't.
That's code for him.
Yeah, fatty on a train. Man.
Coming soon to theaters near you. That seems like what that needs to be.
Fatty on a train. I'd watch that.
That
maybe.
I mean, I'm envisioning something.
You know, that feels like a comedy. And
I feel like the train is like a detox center, and you're going there to
everybody's
detox.
trying to get the cheese.
You're starting to lose weight, and they sneak cheese on.
Don't want to talk to the riot? We completely understand. Text instead. 877-2-RADIO-U.
It was this time yesterday that I gave Nikki some options, and I'm circling back around to the one that we left out. Did you hear the one about Amazon and the Chinese novel series?
No.
This is crazy. Like, it's not official yet, but there is a rumor floating that Amazon is making a bid somewhere in the neighborhood. And is this even possible, of $1 billion?
No. For what?
For this Chinese novel series, where it wouldn't be so much
To make the series from the novel, or
That
they already
would be-
made it and they have the rights?
No, it's like this. Like, they would say, like, okay, this $1 billion price point includes the rights to the novels themselves, the rights to make the series, and the production cost.
Gotcha.
So it's like it's
It's
package
everything.
kind of thing together. And it's called The Three Body Problem. It's a sci-fi novel trilogy. It's also known as Remembrance of Earth's Past. And basically what they're saying is, hey, in the United States, the market for existing novels being turned into books and movies is so competitive that now they're starting to look to other countries. And, of course, if they would spend all of this money developing this popular Chinese novel series,
Sure.
then it's got a lot of potential for marketing in, like North America, Europe,
Yeah.
whatever. But it gives them a huge foot into potentially the Chinese market to sell that series there as well.
So this follows. So Amazon announced that they have the TV adaptation rights of The Lord of the Rings.
They do, and they're making that.
They paid $200 million for that one. What they basically want is a Game of Thrones for their network.
Right.
So with Amazon and the Three Body Problem, they're interested in making that a 3-season TV series.
Right.
And that would be for $1 billion. So that is something right there to be the author of that one.
Seems like a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. You write this book, whatever, and like all of a sudden, I mean,
So I
he's
don't know
not
if
getting
it-
$1 billion, but like he'll get.
But I don't know if it is where Amazon's buying the rights for everything. It seems like it is just the TV rights for that adaptation
Right, but
of
doesn't
3
that?
seasons.
But that includes the production costs.
I
Or did
believe
I read
so.
it wrong?
No, I believe
Yeah.
so, but it's not like they own the book rights. Then at that point of like anytime someone buys the book, they get a chunk of it. I don't think that's it.
Okay. Have they translated this into English?
Yeah, it's very popular.
Really? Mm-hmm. Have you heard of it before now?
I have not, which
Okay.
is why it's been very popular.
Well,
We try not to go with something too, mainstream.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when you say it like that, like, oh, yeah, I mean, everybody's
Well, I mean, if they're going to pay $1 billion, if they're paying more than they did for the Lord of the Rings stuff, I mean, it's very much out there.
It has been translated into English, and it's $10 on Kindle. That's interesting. Set against the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution, a secret military project sends signals into space to establish contact with aliens, and then it goes from there. That'd be even more interesting in that I would have to read some history on China's Cultural Revolution because there's going to be a lot of stuff where I'll be like, I don't know what this means.
But people like it.
This feels like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to need to go to the library.
Seems like work.
Well, I just, I'm still in the middle of Lord of the Rings. I don't need to add another trilogy. I got to finish what I have.
And then
no more buying.
Then you can try something else.
Thanks for listening to the Worst of the Riot podcast.
Oh no! I missed it! Do it again!
You can hear us live every day on the RadioU network through the RadioU app or at riot.radiou.com.
I don't want to get weird about it, but it was totally a nude beach when I was there last night.